Hi everyone, Mochismo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share the video, give a thumbs up if you found it helpful, pass it on. If you believe someone else will benefit from it, I would appreciate that. Is anyone else besides myself seeing a very disjointed conversation in most settings you happen upon? People are just talking about stuff that really, it's not so much not going anywhere. It just really doesn't make any logical sense. And a lot of it is them doting on things out in public, pretty much with a strong appearance of, I want to appear to be responsible. I want to appear to the hearers that I'm that one. I'm doing everything right. It's just never a conversation, for the most part, that I hear it that's just cohesive, very organic. Back like in the day, you could sit around under a tree and something, and you could have a conversation with a group of people about a lot of everything. And the conversations would actually, I don't want to say seem like they were going somewhere, but they would actually have some rhyme or reason to them. I mean, am I the only one? I mean, not to say that my conversation is the conversation to be had, but I found that since I've awakened, a lot of the stuff, and I was a partaker into some of these conversations. I'm positive that I was. But when you wake up, you find that after narcissistic abuse, you find that a lot of the conversations that you hear sound remotely like what you lived through when you were with the narcissist. Overtly superficial, overtly with preservatives and additives for no apparent reason. A lot of hype, overly hyped conversations. And you detect this stuff without actually going out of your way to pay attention. And I think it's because a lot of it is conditioning to the world around us, what most people are doing. This is what most people do. As an empath, you were, even before you awakened to what you had been through with a narcissist, you had an independent way of thinking. You had that. That is nothing new to you. But what you've arrived at awaken, you hone in on that. You go back to who you truly are, and you don't alter that for the most part. You stay genuine and stay true to yourself. And I just think this is a reason why I'm hearing these conversations that are so disjointed, because most of us are not staying true to ourselves. We're yes men. We go along to get along. We don't want to offend, so we nod our head in approval. I'm not saying you have to resist everything a person says to you because you don't right way agree with it. But I am saying you must not cheerlead everything a person says to a fault, to where you get to a point where when you do decide to give your 2 cents or stand in your truth, then you're met with opposition because you've given too much to this machine. You've given too much to this person, this conversation, to the point where they feel like, why are you resisting? You never had a problem with it before. And if this is confusing you guys, I'm just basically saying, now that we are awakened, we would rather just disengage altogether. And before that person gets traction and tries to garner our approval, we will rather just sit there stoic and just casually observe and casually listen. We don't have to nod in approval. We don't have to shake our head in disapproval. We're just standing in our authenticity. And again, when you walk out in public and you're just running to the store, you will, however, see a lot of people that are staying in their lane. But I'm just talking about the instances where you do observe and these things jump out at you. You see that a lot of the conversations are very disjointed. Uh, Obviously, you have a narcissist as a ringleader in a lot of these conversations, and that is there's no guessing to why that conversation is disjointed. And then, however, unawakened empaths who have not arrived at the reality that most of the conversations they're having with people, they're not in the conversation as the empath is. They're in the conversations for sordid gain, if it's nothing but to get more attention from what they're talking about than what you may want to talk about. And it's a competitive conversation. It's never a conversation that is just cohesive and just flowing, and nothing has to be that important we're talking about, but we're just flowing in the moment. We're just appreciating the just the camaraderie of being together. These are the conversations that I yearn for, and they're few and far between. And I guess that's why I pick and choose who I engage with and who I don't engage with, because I don't want to pretend. I don't want to play the game. Not that I'm better than anyone, but I'm better than that. I'm better than that type of foolishness, because it's a waste of life. I would rather be silent and waste time rather than engage in a conversation, giving somebody the illusion that I'm really in this for uh, all the right reasons. And that might be petty to some people, but I think that's a big, important thing for us to consider when we start having these conversations and engaging with people and allowing them to just put us in these conversation chokeholds with this foolishness. I've had people come up and they start to push their political beliefs upon me, you know, using an example. And I know a lot of you hear the buzz on Trump and how mad they are and how much they can't stand him. I mean, to each his own, and everyone has the right to feel what they feel about uh, whoever they feel it about. That's your feelings. You're entitled to have those. But I just don't believe that a lot of the feelings that I have, especially if they're overtly abrasive to the person who I'm talking to, I haven't really gotten their consent to put them in a headlock with my strong beliefs or disdains, if that makes any sense. I don't think a lot of us consider how our conversation affects another person. And empaths, we were once in that lane. And all of you empaths that don't um, readily embrace this, I would wish that you would. I mean, if you're in a position where you're not yet awakened to the BS of how we go along to get along, we catch ourselves entrapped in these conversations and these followings and these get-togethers, and to the point where we're so conditioned into those, we don't know how to disengage. We don't even know how to change our flow and to come back to who we really are, and have our strong stance on what we will and won't do. It's kind of right in the sand, the line in the sand. You have to make that conscious attempt, because the sooner you do it, the sooner you'll find out that a lot of the conversations, and to many of them you're having with a lot of people, are just them leveraging what they can garner from you, and also to leverage that information against you and to put you in a bad light. Now, I'm not saying you have to, not speak and divulge stuff to people. If you should choose to do that, do it. But I think it's just a good idea to have a little more discretion when you do speak, and the things that you do speak, you stand on those and not even worry about where it goes or who it goes to. But sometimes when we overextend ourselves in conversation, uh, it makes us the guinea pig for a lot of the foolishness that somehow comes back to us. And so the conversations I'm hearing are so disjointed in society, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. And I'm not put off by it either. I'm not really put off by it because it just makes me realize more and more that a lot of the conversations I had was me exerting far too much of who I am as an individual, because I really don't need it. I don't need that conversation like that, especially if I just need to make up stuff to talk about. You go to these places just with the intentions of having fun, to just engage and mingle and mangle. Before you get there, you walk in, this person is already latching on to you and pushing up on you with a conversation that you somehow feel compelled to join in on. And dare you try to disengage, as in times before, you start running guilt trips on yourself, feeling like, I don't want to go over to this part of the room because I don't want them to start feeling like or thinking that I'm trying to be better than they are. Well, you're going to have to decide, because this is how these people put you in these chokeholds with their conversation. And I use the political situation as an example, but there are many other examples that I'm sure you have experienced. If you have, give me a comment. I'd appreciate that. That being said, bless.